Tennessee.
Talking taxes. In a speech to the nation's governors, the president steps up his criticism of the GOP tax cut. Concerns about filling the gap in child dental care now that fewer dentists are accepting Medicaid. And not every student will be welcome back when Columbine High reopens.
This is the CBS Evening News with John Roberts.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the battle over your money and how to spend it. Republican members of Congress, starting their month-long break, are working to sell their plan to give back almost $800 billion worth in the form of a tax cut. On the other side, President Clinton, who took his plan for a smaller cut and a big pay down on the debt to the nation's governors today. Cheryl Atkinson has the story.
President Clinton told the nation's governors that the Republicans' hotly debated tax cut plan would lead to disastrous results.
The money is not there yet.
Mr. Clinton warned that the $792 billion tax cut is based on a projected budget surplus that may never actually come to pass.
You mark my words, interest rates will be higher, this economy will be weaker than it otherwise would have been, and 30 years from now we'll wonder what in the living daylights we did with the opportunity of a lifetime. And if I can stop it, I will. But
he'll stop it, he threatens, using a presidential veto.
I hope that the president will reconsider.
Republican Senator Don Nichols made the case for tax cuts.
When in the world, if you have a $3 trillion surplus forecast for the next 10 years, if you don't give a tax cut now, when are you going to give it?
The two sides seem headed for the kind of confrontation that shut down the federal government 4 years ago. Yet they insist there is still time for compromise, though no one is saying exactly how. The president also chastised the governors for spending too little of the federal money earmarked for uninsured children, saying it should be covering twice as many kids. He wants states to be more aggressive in telling parents who need insurance for their children that the money is there. Cheryl Atkinson, CBS News, Washington.
While enrolling more children in the federally funded health care program will go a long way toward providing them with adequate medical care, it won't solve all their problems. That's because, as Randall Pinkston reports, the program may not put enough money where their mouth is.
Until last year, 20% of the children treated at this dental practice in Portsmouth, New Hampshire were on Medicaid. But 2 months ago, dentists here became part of a national trend, refusing to accept adults or children on Medicaid.
It was not an issue of the patients per se, but simply an issue with the dollars.
Dr. John Wendell is a pediatric dentist. In 1998, he says Medicaid, a state-run insurance program for the poor, reimbursed his practice $50,000 for work that cost $120,000.
The state simply cannot pay individuals, dentists, less money than it takes to provide the procedure and expect participants to be part of the Medicaid program.
In response, Medicaid patients and dentists have filed at least 3 class action lawsuits to force states to pay more to care for the poor.
Open wide.
In New York, plaintiffs' evidence includes a draft report from the State Department of Health acknowledging disparities in oral health services for the disadvantaged have grown in recent years.
If you're in a low-income area and your child has a toothache, here's how dental care works if you're on Medicaid. You go to a hospital emergency room and you wait. And only if your child is in pain is there a possibility of immediate treatment.
I used to wait from 6 months to a year for an appointment. They put me on
one appointment?
One appointment.
Cecilia Toval and her children don't have to wait anymore because they found something rare, a private dental practice in New York City that, despite low reimbursement, accepts Medicaid clients.
All right, Giovanni. He has no cavities.
But this oasis of dental care for the poor is in jeopardy because New York's governor wants deeper cuts in Medicaid funding.
A lot of doctors are moving out of the region, are moving out to where there are more private insurers.
See you in 6 months.
And with even fewer dentists available to treat children on Medicaid, the founder of this clinic predicts more tooth decay and more suffering. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, New York.
Thousands of workers at a federal nuclear plant in Paducah, Kentucky, were exposed for decades to deadly plutonium, according to today's Washington Post. Workers were told they were handling uranium and reportedly were not warned of the hazards of more deadly plutonium even after a string of cancers was detected. Joe Harding, a worker at the plant, was dying when he recorded his memories in the early 80s.
Well, you could see your own tracks in this uranium dust. Thinking back on this now just horrifies you.
The report says the dust spread throughout the facility, even to locker rooms and cafeterias. Experts say the cleanup will take 75 years and cost $240 billion. Out west, the controversial voyage of a decommissioned nuclear reactor vessel has ended. After a 32-hour barge trip up the Columbia River, the 1,000-ton vessel was loaded onto a trailer for the final leg of its trip to a burial site in Hanford, Washington. It will take about 3 months to bury in a trench 45 feet deep. A week from tomorrow, students go back to school at Columbine High in Colorado, the first time classes will be held since the deadly shooting spree there 3.5 months ago. But the story today is not so much of who is going back to school as who is not. Christina Yao of our Denver station KCNC reports.
All new painting on the walls.
When the doors to the newly renovated Columbine High School open on August 16th, sophomore Melissa Souder will probably not be there. Days after the April 20th shooting in which 15 people were killed, including the 2 gunmen, the school claims Souder told a friend she was glad some of her classmates were dead.
It was a comment that was truly inappropriate for the situation and for the students that had lived through a very terrible event.
At Columbine, where millions have been spent to erase all traces of the shooting, officials this week told the special ed student not to come back this fall. Souder's parents are now suing the school district for $100,000, claiming administrators overreacted in the aftermath of the shooting.
That she's been denied her rights of confronting the people who made the accusations. There's no due process involved.
Melissa says she has simply been misunderstood.
They're taking someone else's word against, like, a lot of other people's words. I mean, it's one word against another word.
Souder says what she actually told a friend was that she hoped something good would come from the tragedy, not that she approved of the shooting. But school officials have told her she can either register at another school or get a tutor for the year.
There's some good things about that school that I haven't found in any other school.
All Souder wants is to join her classmates and to put last April's events behind her. Christina Yao for CBS News, Littleton, Colorado.
Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, NATO in the middle again between Serbs and Albanians in Kosovo. Also, the fight over getting cheaper AIDS drugs to Africa. And young professionals with nothing to wear on casual Fridays.
My business runs on long hours and a leave. I can't settle for those pain relievers that quit too soon. Just 2 Aleve are strong enough to work all day. I used to need 8 Tylenol to do that. There's a tool for every job. For tough pain, it's Aleve.
Look at all these laxatives. They all contain stimulants. That one says it may cause cramps. Only Philips is stimulant-free. Nothing's more effective, nothing safer.
So I've heard.
Philips, safe, effective relief without harsh stimulants.
We know you want to do more with your photos. Now you can on a Gateway Essential PC that includes a digital camera and the software you need to bring people closer together. All for $42 a month with an Intel Celeron processor. Call 1-800-GATEWAY.
The best way to cure athlete's foot so it won't come back is here. New Lamisil AT. So powerful, it does what no other brand can do. These take 4 weeks of treatment to kill the fungus. Lamisil AT is so powerful, with just 1 week's use, it stops the itching and burning and cures athlete's foot between the toes. So powerful, a clinical study showed 3 whole months later, users were still athlete's foot free. Now without a prescription. New Lamisil AT, the best way to cure athlete's foot.
The first members of an international police force to back up NATO peacekeepers in Kosovo finally arrived today in Pristina. In another Kosovo town, French peacekeepers scuffled for a second day with ethnic Albanians trying to cross a bridge to the Serb-controlled district. In South Africa, a raging AIDS epidemic has infected almost 10% of the population. But South Africa's effort to provide affordable anti-AIDS drugs has put it at odds with U.S. laws protecting drug company patents. Sarah Carter has the story.
Tom Senka Ndleko is waiting to die.
I do nothing all day. I just feel pain.
Once a month, local hospice workers bring him some food and painkillers, but they have nothing to treat the disease. While the life-prolonging AIDS drug cocktails are showing tremendous promise in the United States and other parts of the world, they are not an option here in KwaZulu-Natal, where the rate of infection is the highest in the world. 1 in 3 has AIDS.
These drugs in US dollars cost about $600 a month, which is between 3.5 and 4,000 rand, and the average South African certainly can't afford the antiretrovirals for the month.
With most African countries spending less than $6 per person annually on health care, the expense of these drugs is simply too dear. Drug companies justify their prices by the high cost of research and development and rely on patent protection as a way to recover their initial investment.
In an effort to make the life-prolonging drugs more affordable, the South African government has passed legislation to allow for the purchase of cheaper generic versions of the anti-AIDS drug cocktails. But that has set off a battle with the pharmaceutical industry. 40 drug companies are suing the South African government, claiming the new bill violates international drug patents.
We absolutely do not put profit before lives.
But while government and business do battle in court, millions of AIDS sufferers are losing the fight. No one here knows life-sustaining drugs are even available. Doctors thought that since the pills are so unaffordable, it's kinder not to let their patients know. Sarah Carter, CBS News in Zimbabwe, South Africa.
For the record, the Clinton administration says it is trying to resolve the dispute, working with South Africa to find ways for it to obtain lower-cost AIDS drugs without infringing on U.S. patents. There's more to come on tonight's CBS Evening News. More and more teens caught in abusive relationships, and the tough choice of volunteering or starting a career. And later, rain returns violently to the drought-stricken Northeast.
They're here, filled with aroma and flavor, only they're waiting to be released by you. Introducing Folgers new whole bean coffee. Every time you grind these beans, you release something sensational, a deeper, richer aroma. This is Arabica bean perfection in a whole different Folgers, the whole bean Folgers. New Folgers premium whole bean coffees. They're waiting.
Try new Genuine Bear Gel Caps, the only gel cap that can help save your life. New Bear Gel Caps, powerful pain relief, and so much more.
I should have used Preparation H.
Cool it fast. Introducing Preparation H Cooling Gel. Cools on contact for fast relief. New Preparation H Cooling Gel cools on contact.
There's nutrition news about heart disease. The B vitamin folic acid may help reduce homocysteine levels in the blood, an emerging risk factor for heart disease. And Centrum Silver has folic acid.
Centrum Silver. It's a great time to be silver.
People breed dogs. Some people breed pretty dogs. Other people breed tough dogs. But every once in a while, one of those tough dogs hooks up with one of the pretty dogs. Introducing the new, redesigned 2000 Mitsubishi Montero Sport. Tougher, prettier.
What are these kids at camp in Maine doing that their parents never could? Making friends with the enemy. 60 Minutes, tonight.
Are your kids super consumers who want it all? Who's to blame? The ads pushing products geared to the young? Parental guidance on how to put the brakes on all that greed. This week on This Morning.
Ever since the days of Romeo and Juliet, there has been a tendency to idealize young love. But the reality is that young love is no more immune to trouble than love at any other age. That's tonight's Sunday Cover. Young people trapped in relationships marked not by love, but by abuse.
I know now that I would not let that happen to me again, but at the time, I didn't really know that it was wrong, what he was doing.
In a few weeks, Robin Haidari will be a sophomore in high school. But the hardest lesson she ever learned happened when she was 12 and secretly dating a 17-year-old boy.
He always wanted to know where I was, what I was doing, who I was with. He told me that I couldn't hang around any more of my guy friends. It was just, I had to spend all my time with him.
It began with emotional control, isolating Robin from her friends.
And then he started becoming more abusive, more that he would start like punching me in the face and pushing me down and really hurting me.
It was a similar story for this 18-year-old who asked not to be identified.
That's when I knew it wasn't love. It wasn't love at all.
At the time, she was 15, her boyfriend 16.
He wanted so much more from me than I wanted to give him, that I was ready to give him, that I was willing to give him, but he took it anyway.
Over the course of their year-long relationship, he raped her several times. Even after she broke up with him, the emotional abuse didn't stop.
Then he would call my house 20 times a day. Then he would follow me home. Then he would jump on my car when I was trying to leave school.
Domestic violence isn't something that happens just to adults. It starts with teenagers and at about the same rate, although record-keeping for both groups is flawed. It's believed that 10 to 30% of dating teens experience physical abuse, and many more endure emotional abuse or mental mind games.
Teenagers have very limited dating experience, so they will often confuse possessive, jealous, and controlling behavior as a sign of love.
Rhea Mallett heads New York City's Commission to Combat Family Violence. One of her goals is simply to increase awareness of the problem.
One of the teenage girls looked up and said, "Wow, I didn't even, I knew something was wrong, I knew something was happening, but I didn't know it was abuse."
The abuse happens at a critical point in teenage lives.
The most important thing to them is independence and exercising control over the decisions that they're making in their lives.
Caitlin Finnegan works with Empower, a group dedicated to ending gender-based violence. She says it's hard for teens to go for help, and if they do, their concerns are frequently brushed off.
They often find that when they want to get out of an abusive relationship, people aren't prepared to hear it, and people aren't prepared to believe them.
Fewer than 4% of affected teens ever reach out for help. Neither of the young women we talked to reported their abuse. But when the most popular teen magazine in America ran a cover story on violent boyfriends, it prompted hundreds of letters like this one.
He pushes, slams me into walls, restrains me, grabs me by the hair.
An overnight survey on 17's website got 3,500 responses.
11% said that they had been physically abused by their boyfriends. 27 had been verbally abused.
Experts say society needs to wake up to the existence of teenage abuse and start listening to children. Teens need to learn that abuse is not all right, not normal, and most of all, that it's not their fault.
I knew it wasn't going to happen to me. I knew that it wasn't going to happen to anyone I knew. But it's going to happen in the movies. It's going to happen on TV. It's going to happen in soap operas. It's going to happen on after-school specials. But it's not going to happen to you. But it did.
New York City's hotline receives 400 calls a month from teens involved in abusive relationships. Officials are launching pilot programs against abuse in 5 high schools this fall.
Nancy will have to see from near to far almost 1,000 times today. Her eyes will focus on 40 labels, 60 charts, and 100 smiles. And in all that time, she'll never once think about the science that allows her to focus instantly at all distances. Nancy just knows that her Verilux lenses help her see better. And for her, that's a very comforting thought. Verilux, the comfort of better vision. For more information, call toll-free 1-800-VERILUX.
When pain shakes your world, it's time for Bengay SPA with site-penetrating action. It targets relief at the site of pain, and it has a light, fresh scent. Bengay SPA. It feels like a whole new day.
You didn't save me any? There wasn't enough.
Quaker Toasted Oatmeal Squares. You haven't wanted a cereal this badly since you were a kid.
My dentures always fit fine. I never thought of them as a problem until I saw the video of my son's wedding. It was then that I decided to try Fixodent.
Because Fixodent adjusts to the unique contours of your dentures and gums, forming a thin, powerful seal for a better hold than you ever thought possible.
It was like a whole new feeling, so snug and secure. For once, I actually forgot that I even wore dentures. So now, I like what I see.
Find out for yourself what it feels like to Fixodent and forget it.
Staples presents the Staples Coach of the Week program. It's our salute to leaders on the field and in the classroom. And it's your chance to win $5,000 in school supplies for your school, plus a visit from your local NFL head coach. To enter, visit a Staples near you. Register at www.staples.com or send your entry to Staples Coach of the Week. Watch NFL Today Sundays on CBS for winners.
It was not enough to even begin to quench the drought, but parts of the Northeast saw something very unusual today. Rain. A brief heavy downpour on New York's Long Island downed some tree branches and damaged roofs. The booming economy produced 310,000 new non-farm jobs in the past month, and with unemployment at a very low 4.3%, it's easier than ever to find a good job. But as Elizabeth Caledon reports, it's also harder to find people interested in doing good deeds.
There's a picture of me in a rainforest.
Jack Koch has good memories and no second thoughts about the year he spent in Costa Rica.
Absolutely fantastic. I would do it again tomorrow.
Jack wasn't on vacation. He was there teaching English in a small village of 1,000 people.
This is the school where I taught, and this is some of my smiling kids, my second grade class.
He majored in international affairs and could have gone straight into business. Instead, Jack volunteered for a nonprofit group called World Teach.
I had to make a decision whether or not I wanted to volunteer or whether or not I wanted to go into this incredible job market.
The best job opportunities in decades make it incredibly hard for graduates deciding between a well-paying job or a volunteer experience.
We have noticed in the last 3 years a 20% decrease in our numbers, and we think that a lot of that has to do with the strong economy.
It's not just volunteers. Nonprofits are having the same difficulty competing for employees tempted by the money, perks, even signing bonuses that private business can offer.
The whole country is much more interested in making money today than in social service, more so than I think I've probably seen in the last 30 years.
Quinn Mills teaches at the Harvard Business School. He says there's legitimate fear the bubble could burst.
He might find it difficult to get the kind of a job 2 years hence that he could have gotten this year.
Jack Koch says finding a job since he returned 4 months ago was harder than he expected, but the decision to volunteer was the right one.
I didn't want to wake up when I was 40 years old or 50 years old and say, you know, you had the opportunity to do it, why didn't you do it?
Jack has no regrets, and he started his new job last month. Elizabeth Caledon, CBS News, New York.
Next up on the CBS Evening News, a formal protest against casual dress.
My feet are killing me.
Now relieve all kinds of foot pain, even arthritis, with new Podiasin Soak and Massage Gel.
Is Podiasin really different?
Yes, Podiasin is the only medicated gel that works 2 ways. It dissolves in water for instant pain relief, then when pores open, rubs in deeper for long-lasting relief. No ordinary rub or soak works like that.
There's nothing like Podiasin. The pain is gone.
Only Podiasin is specially made to relieve all kinds of foot pain.
Courage, something shared by countless Americans. Those who risked their lives, those who battled serious illness. When I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I was primarily concerned with ridding myself of the cancer. But secondly, I was concerned about possible post-operative side effects like erectile dysfunction, ED, often called impotence. You know, it's a little embarrassing to talk about ED, but it's so important to millions of men and their partners that I decided to talk about it publicly. And after all, it can be associated with many conditions, including prostate surgery, high blood pressure, diabetes, or even smoking. And the point I want to make is there are many treatments available for ED, so my advice is get a medical checkup. It's the best way to get educated about ED and what can be done to treat it. It may take a little courage, but I've always found that everything worthwhile does.
You didn't save me any?
It wasn't enough.
Quaker Toasted Oatmeal Squares. You haven't wanted a cereal this badly since you were a kid.
Wedding season is here, and isn't it nice to know there's one thing that will never let you down? Thompson's Wood Protector. For rain, sun, mildew, it's the most powerful Thompson's yet. You may now protect the deck. Thompson's Wood Protector. It never takes a day off.
How would you react if you lost a fortune in a matter of seconds? Day traders live with that kind of tension every day. But did those high-stakes risks cause Atlanta gunman Mark Barton to snap? Day Trading Exposed, a first-ever industry investigation, shows what it's really like on the inside. Monday on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
As another business week is about to begin, some notes about proper workplace wardrobe. More and more companies have adopted casual days, which are supposed to make workers more relaxed. But Jacqueline Adams finds that dressing down for success is causing all kinds of stress.
In the 1950s, the button-down man in the gray flannel suit was the ultimate symbol of success. A man who worked with his mind, not his hands. A man who could be trusted. Since the computer revolution, though, the billionaire geniuses of the Silicon Valley have launched another trend. In the 90s, they call it casual chic.
We rely on our lawyers every day to make far more weighty judgments about what's in our client's interest than just what they're wearing.
Even in conservative Washington, D.C., the power suit has been replaced by khakis and polo shirts. Last year, the law partners at Morgan Lewis instituted Casual Fridays. Both clients and staff were so enthusiastic, this entire month has been dubbed Casual August.
When corporate America, and that is the story, decided that they could be casual in appropriate circumstances, the rest of us followed the lead.
Well, maybe. A survey conducted by Levi Strauss, a major beneficiary of this trend, finds that 87% of Americans go casual at least some of the time. Naturally, there's been a backlash. Increasingly, workers complain that casual attire has become a corporate straitjacket.
Should I go with a polo today? Should I go with a long sleeve shirt today? What color khakis to wear? There's only so many different colors you can wear, and it can be a little stressful.
Every morning, 23-year-old Stephen Katz agonizes before his closet. He worries he'll be an outcast if he wears the expensive suits he bought upon joining the accounting giant Ernst & Young. The firm has just decided to go casual year-round.
Because nobody wants to be shown up.
It's a new, interesting project.
New Jersey's Pollock Public Relations Agency has gone to the other extreme. Casual Fridays have been replaced by formal Fridays.
It conveys the message of the care that we give to clients.
Allison Pollock, who dreamed up the idea, thinks her workers are more productive in formal wear.
If I was in jeans or t-shirts, I would be normally like slouching.
Whether casual or formal, it seems the old cliche is true. Clothes do make the man or woman. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News, New York.
And that is the CBS Evening News. Later on CBS 60 Minutes, a summer camp for Arab and Israeli teens. Tomorrow on This Morning, parents talk about advertising that targets their children. I'm John Roberts, CBS News in New York. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the internet and on our interactive partner, America Online, at keyword CBS News.
Experience you can trust. CBS News.